All right, we are live, boys. Good evening, and welcome to episode 72 of Them District Boys podcast. Tonight's sponsors are Captain Niles in Gulfport. They got lobster, they got steak, they got both if you're a real man. We got Michael West at DirectAuto, Collision Depot in Gaucher, the Marty Wilson, Brad J with Real Broker LLC, and District Coffee in Ocean Springs, Pascagoula, and coming up in Ocean Springs, OS 1515 in downtown Ocean Springs. They got breakfast, they got lunch, they got booze, they got a little bit of everything. Y'all come on down. We got Oliver Scott Insurance. They got homeowners, auto, commercial, and life. And don't forget to watch my new movie, Adult Best Friends. All right, tonight, y'all, we have a very special guest, probably the most legendary guest we've ever had on this podcast. This guy is the president of Aladdin Construction. Aladdin Construction builds schools, casinos, hotels, a little bit of everything, drywall, all kind of stuff. Aladdin Construction. Tonight's special guest is Jim Hardin.
Good job, dude.
All right, thanks, buddy. Good job.
Really good. All right. Well, you're here. This is your first podcast.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yes.
Apparently, that's a
also.
big deal.
He's a goat. I want to dive into the beginning of construction world for you, but also OS 1515. You're one of the co-developers behind this. How many acres is that project?
2, 1, 2, 3, something like that.
Yeah, the parking garage is coming. There's be all the condos are sold, correct?
Yes, all the condos.
It's a big deal, guys. Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. Jim, what got you into construction?
I was born into construction. I'm a 4th generation contractor, and my dad's a construction superintendent. He's retired now, but I grew up working. He started me working for him when I was 12 years old, picking up trash on job sites. I've kidded a lot that I was probably 24 before I realized there was a career alternative to construction. He wanted me to be a contractor, and I wanted me to be a contractor. So that's how it started. And my dad was a superintendent, so he followed the work. He worked all throughout the Southeast, and there were periods of time where we actually lived on the job sites in a mobile home. And my playground was a job site. Running around in 3rd and 4th grade and driving a Bobcat and toys like that. So dozers. So I just, it's in my blood, and it stayed with me. And now my son's in the business, and he's looking to follow in our footsteps. So
that's awesome.
That's what brought me into it.
When did you take that test to get that GC?
So I got the GC license in 2002 when I bought Aladdin Construction. Of course, my career in commercial construction, I guess the formal career, not working for my dad in various roles, would have been in 1986. I actually got on after school at building the Biloxi Regional Medical Center here in Biloxi. And when I got the call that I had the job offer, it was a no-brainer. We were like, I can go live on the beach and build a hospital. And when I was like, yeah, I'm in. So when we were the construction manager on the project, and Roy Anderson Corp., Roy Anderson Jr., Roy Anderson III, they were the general works package contractor on the project. And I got to know those guys through that project. And the company I was working for was based out of the Birmingham area. And when the hospital wrapped up, they moved my wife and I to Biloxi, moved me to Birmingham, but I met her while I was doing this project in Biloxi. Wow. So we moved to Birmingham. We built the basketball arena for University of Alabama, Birmingham there in town, and did a few other projects in that region, Tuscaloosa City Hall, and the casino boom hit in 92. And I had some contacts with Roy Anderson Corp. and reached out to them to see if they'd let me be a part of that program, what was coming. And I was fortunate enough to get on with Roy in 1992 and worked with Roy for 10 years. And
were you specializing in And drywall and interiors.
Well, with Roy, he's a general contractor, so we were doing general contractor work. When I first went to work for him, he was building Casino Magic in Bay St. Louis at the time, and it was 7-day a week, 24-hour a day project.
Wow, around the clock.
Which was something new, as you might imagine. I did a little over $8 million project in 89 days to get them open. Casino Magic had an IPO coming up, and they had some budget and date requirements to hit that were very high bar, but Roy pulled it off and was very successful with that. I went straight from that project to Grand Casino in Gulfport, and numbers are fuzzy now.
I used to play in that kids center.
That's right. That was a great place. Absolutely.
My dad used to drop me off there.
Kids Quest.
Kids Quest.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So went straight from Casino Magic to Grand Casino in Gulfport, and it was $45 million, and I think we did it in 5 months. We started in December of 92 and opened in May of
5 months?
93. Yeah.
Guys, I mean, I don't know if you've been to it. That was pretty big. Casino Magic.
It was insane. And then we went straight from that project to Grand Casino in Biloxi, and it was $74 million in 7 months, I believe. We started in May or June of 93 and opened in January 94. So after that, we needed a break. and so Roy Anderson grew a lot through that time. They did a lot of other casinos that I wasn't involved with. Treasure Bay, Lady Luck, or a few that come to mind. And then they had a lot of work going up in Tunica, Circus, Valleys, and then they did the Grand Casino in Tunica. Now, and I wasn't a part of the Tunica work. I stayed here on the coast. But, after those crazy times, things kind of settled down. We got back into more routine work and built prisons and schools and, hospitals, things like that. And then in 2002, I got an opportunity to buy Aladdin Construction, Aladdin was a subcontractor for Roy Anderson Corp. And
how'd that deal work out? How that did it fall in your lap, or?
Yeah, it did. It did. The owner then of Aladdin Construction and founder, Tom Little, was on a construction board, the Associated Builders and Contractors, with me. We were both on it, and we were coast guys, so we would drive back and forth from the coast to the meetings in Jackson together and developed a relationship. And he was a very avid golfer. I was a very poor golfer, but he liked to take me golfing. And I guess it would have been probably in November of 2000 or something like that. We're about halfway through playing Shell Landing in November. I remember it was cold and I was ready to go home, and it was kind of getting one of the late holes. And he looked at me and said, "I want to sell my company." I said, "That's really cool, Tom." He goes, "I want to sell it to you." I'm like, "Okay." And I was, back nine. I was a few beers in, and it sounded like a good idea at the time. I'm like, "Sure, I'll buy it." Never really thought anything would come of it. He was serious. Yeah. I wasn't. And then he just began to work on me over the next year or so, and send me a contract, and he just kept the momentum going until he finally convinced me that it was the right thing to do.
That kind of redefines deals are made on the golf course and at the bar.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Man. So I left Roy in 2002. I worked with Aladdin for a year. Just had to figure out how things worked around there. It was a totally different animal from what I had been involved with. I went from being a general contractor to a specialty contractor, and it's just a whole different game. So I spent the year there, and I told them, after the year, I said, "Okay, we have a deal. Let's go ahead and close." And we actually closed on Aladdin's 25th anniversary in 2003. They were formed in 78, and we had a big 25th anniversary party, and they check, and they went to Australia for 2 weeks, and they've lived over in East Jackson County now, and they're still living and kicking and enjoying life. And here we are, 22, going on 23 years later, whatever that math is.
That's like you said, the golf course deal.
Yeah. It sounded like a good deal for everybody.
That was my exact words.
Congratulations.
Exact thoughts. It's a good deal for everybody.
That's awesome.
That's how it went.
So I'm still your janitor to this day. I think I came on in 2008, probably around there. Yeah,
with the new building. Yep.
No, the old building. I was at the old.
Okay, so
I was at the
we
old building
moved
too.
in the new building in March of 08. So it at least has to predate that then.
It was Andy Snyder was your first guy.
Yeah.
Well, Andy had 8 kids at the time, and you were like it was like a once a week contract. Well, Andy, I got this contract at the Gaucher mental health or something. It's like $4,000 or $5,000 contract, and he had a couple of small accounts like Hertz, Aladdin, and I called him on the phone, and he's like, "I heard you got the contract." I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Man, I really need that money." I said, "Well, I'll trade you a couple accounts." At the time, I'm 20. I was 19 when I started the company, so I was like, I'm playing video games. So I ended up trading about, I think it was like $1,300 worth of small accounts, and he ended up taking that account and building that account. And it was kind of, I didn't have a kid. I didn't even have a dog at the time. So that's how it was a trade-off between 2 franchise owners. And I've been with you.
I remember that.
Yeah, I've been with you ever since.
I remember that, yeah.
And I always tell people all the time, it's like, Aladdin now is it's a good sized business. Yeah. Back in when I first started cleaning, it was probably 1,000 square foot just for the work area.
That's right. Yeah, the whole building was 6,000, and most of it was warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very small.
It's crazy when you see it like go from that, them working in that, to like what they built.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow up. Yeah.
Yeah. You got you walk in his office, like they got like the heart, the artist sign, the wall, the sheetrock. He cut it out and hangs it on the wall. So he's got like all these musicians, and it's just because he was telling you, would you build the Hard Rock twice?
Yeah, that's right. We sure did. We built it twice. Yeah.
It sounds
Thank you, Hurricane.
Yeah.
It sounds like you built every casino.
Yeah. Well, we've played a part.
Yeah.
Some of it be it very small, but we've done some work in every casino here on the coast. Yeah. Yeah. So we're proud of that.
Yeah.
And as I told you before we got on air, that I forgot the small project we did at the Palace. So a shout out to Keith Crosby. Thank you for that little bit of work, bud.
Yeah.
And,
which validated you worked on every one of them.
Yeah, some of it. I mean, the Beau Rivage for a long time, we just did the valet building where you got your valet ticket. That's all. That was our only claim to fame. But after that, we got to do high limits area, and right now we're working on the suites renovation. So we're proud to be a part of that. Absolutely.
So you've been in the game for a while, but do you get a lot? Do you have to chase a lot of your bids, or what's your quality of work? You do top notch interior.
We do. Yeah,
do you get people just reaching out to you? Hey, we want Aladdin to be on our project.
We do. We don't get that enough. We get it. And sometimes, your clients are coy. They won't let you really know how much they may or may not want you. They want to make sure they
negotiate.
They want to keep you honest. Yeah. But yeah, we have a good reputation, especially in the casino world. And it's very different. We got broke in, like I told you, with the casinos working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So
that's a big deal.
The guys in our company are very driven and focused, very type A, and they like to go fast and work a lot of hours. And that works well for casino, hotel, a lot of private sector work. It's not as good a fit in public work, that are 40-hour a week, and, they have longer schedules. And then, so I have to work a little bit to kind of pull the reins back on the guys. But, there's a saying in racing, you want a driver that you got to tell to slow down, not one you got to tell to speed up.
So, you can correct that problem.
Exactly. So we've got a company full of drivers that want to go fast. So it's fun to kind of pull back on them a little bit.
You see, so down here, what was your first, big project for Aladdin? I was going to ask you about the ups and downs, because when you go in and you buy a company in the early 2000s, I've learned from some of my buddies that have the smaller construction companies, they got the net 120, get paid half the year.
Yeah.
But you got to pay your employees. You got to pay your
Yeah.
contractors. You got to be the bank.
Yep.
Could you tell me a story of you first starting out where you're you didn't know how you're going to pay bills? Because I'm pretty sure that had to happen.
When we bought the company, I want to say the owners, when we bought it, left $80,000 in the operating account, and payroll was running about $80,000 a week. And we were just fortunate enough that we had work, and it's just those first few weeks, the checks would just come in just in time to cover the payroll, and And we weren't even smart enough to be scared back then.
No, I love
We
that.
didn't know. We hadn't been business owners long enough to know that was not normal. You know?
I'm glad I ain't the only one.
That's the question I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
Hey, look, makes you feel better.
You didn't know it was a coincidence, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, that
not,
makes-
not at that level, but
Yeah.
I'm saying
He's expanding with the coffee shops, and it's becoming.
right.
We were on a golf cart earlier, like, you know, and then I started the insurance company, so I'm focused on that. We're just going. There will be a time, and
That's right.
I want to hit you on questions like that because it, you know, you work so much. 7 days a week right now, and it's a situation where
it's a much smaller level, but I'm just
he was there once.
Don't
that-
discount it.
Yeah, he was there once.
yeah, like,
It's all the same. It's all
Yeah.
relative. Yeah. No.
It's like you
It's,
work 7 days, and you
that's
go,
inspirational, man.
yeah. Like, are you gonna be able to, like, I have my Ford
Yeah.
Lightning, and I want to fix it, but I'm working so much, I have all the
Yeah.
parts because I like doing my own work, and I just can't make the time to
No,
sit in the garage and have fun with it.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, no, I get that.
It's gonna,
for sure.
it's gonna happen, dude. It's happening. Brad,
You'll
Best
see.
decision I ever made was selling my truck that I had a note
Angels in
on.
the outfield.
Bought an 02 Tundra, and now I don't have a note, and it allows me to focus more on my business rather than paying
Yeah,
bills.
man.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Brad owns the units. What is it called? Right behind Mahoney's.
It's just Water Street Inn LLC.
Yeah, those
so-
are nice. I've seen
yeah,
those,
right next door to
Those things
Mary
are-
Mahoney's.
Those
Yeah,
things
great
are
little
killer.
spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've sat in the sunroom before and admired them.
Oh, yeah, okay, then, yeah,
I'm glad.
He's the one on the corner.
Yeah, I'm on the corner. Yeah,
No, that's killer.
I love
That's
it.
killer.
Yeah,
So that makes me feel better, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
That's killer.
80,000 a week in payroll.
Wow.
Yeah. And you didn't even, like, you weren't nervous.
We didn't know we were supposed to be.
But
I
that's
would be
awesome.
now. I can assure you. You know.
No, but that's
Yeah.
that's
But,
kind of the
uh,
gift.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
with
like-
you and your wife, Miss Leslie.
Yep, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah. When we first started out, it was actually woman owned. She was 51%, and I was 49. That's how the previous ownership was structured.
A lot of
and that
trust.
was-
A lot of trust.
Yeah.
What,
And the previous owners were structured that way. Rhonda was the president. She was 51, and Tom was 49, and that was one of the things that they put in the deal. They wanted it to remain a woman-owned company, and so we did that for a number of years. The woman-owned status had a higher value back then than it does today, and what adds to that value is being disadvantaged, which is kind of based around your net worth. And you know, if you're successful enough to pursue the bigger projects like we are and have the bonding capacity, you're not going to meet the disadvantaged qualifications. So,
Yeah, your performance bond's got to be wild.
yeah, it
Like,
is.
you can't just go in and get a bond. I think like I was telling a business they want to come get one time wanted a $3 million bond, and they're like, no.
Yep.
Like
That's
you
right.
got to crawl first.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to start out, you're getting like 100,000, maybe 80,000, like,
Yeah.
and that's like pulling strings. So for you being over 20 years in the business, he can go, because a lot of people want surety bonds. And you have to have that in place to cover the project.
No,
Oh, sure,
absolutely.
we bonded,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we bond from a dollar value. We definitely bond the majority of our work. Now, in total project count, the bonding is not that high, but because the smaller projects don't require it. So you know, if you've got 30 projects on the books, 20 of them are non-bonded, but they only represent maybe a third of your total volume, or half at best. And it's the other 10 projects that represent your maximum volume, and that's where you're bonded. But yeah, that's for what we do, we answer to the bonding company more than really anybody else. Even our clients. It's so you gotta.
It's like a I bet you got a perfect like lost run like when it comes to insurance. No,
No, knock on wood. No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, but it's something that you
gotta
have to
have.
work, you have to work on every day. Yeah. Absolutely. Now you get you get poked and prodded a lot. You get quizzed a lot and questioned a lot, and bonding companies, insurance companies, they drill down into your business pretty deep, and they'll ask hard questions.
Right.
And the best thing is just be honest with them and move forward. And but and they know when you're being honest and when you're not, so
Yeah.
it works out well.
yeah. There's a lot of commercial that I can't write because nobody ever sends me the lost runs, and it's like a fight. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to quote you if you don't give me. They're not going to rate you at all.
Yeah, I have a good story about that. So we were being interviewed by an insurance underwriter This was right after we opened the new building. So it would have been 08, 09. And this guy comes, he sends in this company sends in these questionnaires for days, leading up to it, just form after form, quality control, safety policy, cell phone policy, automobile policy. You're just flooded with this information that you have to convey. And so then they come out and they want to come see your operation. They want to go see a job site. You got to walk them around and show. They come, they look at your facility. They just go through everything. And this was a full day ordeal with this guy. And we finally get to the end, and there was like not one question left that he could have asked. And we're exhausted. And he looks at me, he says, "So is there anything else about your company I need to know?" And I thought for a second. I said, "What about our Friday afternoon keg party and company truck races? Is that something you need to know?" And
we'll take the seatbelts out of the truck first.
Yeah. And he was like, "I got you. We're good." And I think they've been our insurer ever since. So,
yeah, you screen like that, they give you a break.
Anything else I should know? Well, no.
Well, it's what I'm learning through starting an insurance company is like, it's just like, even with carriers, I mean, people want to, come in and try to bid on the big stuff. You can't, because you have to have your work put in. You have to show people, I can build this building. And the insurance is very strict about that. When Aladdin now for you and you walk in, they're like, okay, we know what Aladdin brings. We know Aladdin we don't have to fix their problems.
Knock on wood. Yeah,
that's real wood right here.
That's right.
Well, insurance kind of does whatever they want, don't they?
Yeah, true. But I'm just the middle guy. I'm just your customer service guy.
So you're going to shop another policy for him.
So, I don't know a lot about the insurance industry, but I've learned this in the past few years, or maybe this is a new trend, but the underwriters now make you lock into who your agent's going to be. They won't take two proposals from, or a proposal from two different agents.
Damn.
They're coming to us and saying, because, we go to you or somebody else and say, hey, can we get, a quote on our insurance? Well, both of you contact the same underwriter, Chubb or something like that. And Chubb comes back and says, you got to pick between the two. And we're like, okay.
That's backwards, isn't it?
It seems that way.
A little bit, yeah.
It's an interesting
Warren Buffett owns
term.
the majority of the insurance companies.
Yeah.
So something that's mandatory is
I don't know
also
where it's coming from or
incentivized.
how it works. I just know on this end.
So for me, when I get carriers, if you go to the back of it, it's like, it's a lot of it's his company. It's like he buys up Safeco, he buys up everything, personal lines, commercial lines.
Yeah.
Like he's got the market.
He don't want his agents competing for the best deal between agents. He wants the company they're going to service have to choose an agent. So that
But you're talking about something that's mandatory to have, and then you're restricting on how you can have it.
Yeah.
right. It can't be competitive either.
Yeah. No. The underwriters are forcing you to pick your agent now. Now I don't know what level that where that's at. I can't say that if you were trying to get car insurance or something, they would pull that string. But at the level we're operating now, we're seeing that you have to declare who your agent's going to be first. So
You're at the top level right now.
I don't know about that.
I'm saying
I work with people in the top level.
Well,
So,
it shouldn't be different. I don't think.
Well, that's how it works. I mean, it is a serious. The insurance world is very, very different when you go to.
Insurance is not regulated on any level.
Well, they regulate us. They regulate all. Like, you're going to have to, like, for instance, like construction. Like, if you go for a bigger project or surety bond, I mean, there's just a lot of rules.
Their rules.
Yeah, 100%. They have rules.
I want to know about who these top level people you're referring to, because I think of you as the GOAT. So, so I want you to give a shout out to these top dogs. I want to hear it.
Well, there's these, our general contractors are the top dogs. The Roy Andersons and the Yates Constructions, and and Hensel Phelps, and these guys operate on a higher plane that we can't really even comprehend. We even have competition in the drywall world that operate and fly high. That KHS&S is a competitor that we bump up against every once in a while. Drywall contractor, they're, I don't know, a few $100 million a year, if not $1 billion, in volume. And for us, it's staggering just to see how you can get to that level and how can you do these things. If you go to Vegas and you look at a Bellagio or a Paris or something like that, a KHS&S has built that. You just walk around in awe thinking about what all they went through to do it. So there's guys a lot bigger than us.
How many states are you in?
Oh, that's a good question. We've worked as far west is Colorado, as far south as Key West, and as far northeast as North Carolina. I guess, not all states license what we do, but we're licensed in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, Arkansas. Trying to think if there's any others. Oh, Kentucky. I'm in Kentucky. So, and those are where we are right now. Georgia doesn't require licensing for drywall contractors. Although we're not doing anything in Georgia, that's a tight market. It's hard to work in. It's a very populated state. They got a lot of good contractors there. North Carolina doesn't require licensing, although we've worked there. And I guess of the big state that's close in our market that we're not licensed in is Tennessee, and that's a big get, and we just haven't really ever had a great opportunity in Tennessee, so we've not done it.
So Pete, you got Pete and Paul. They've been with you for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who does the estimating for Aladdin?
Kevin McDermott is our chief estimator. He's the goat of the estimating, but it's a group effort. Chad Williams in our office does a lot of estimating. Cole is doing some estimating now. Chris Soche, who we just lost back in January. Thank you. He was a workhorse. He was a big estimator, and he managed a lot of work for us. In fact, he was the project manager on the OS 1515 project for us. So that was a big loss. He besides being my nephew, had been with us for 17 years. He knew everything inside and out. He was my go-to guy for tech and new technology, or if I wanted to know what a sound rating for a wall needed to be or a ceiling, I would go to Chris's office and ask Chris, can you check this out for me? And he'd always come back. So we lost a real resource there. But Kevin's our primary estimator, and Pete's a great estimator too. And his job role is varied and wide. So his time demands on his time doesn't allow him to estimate, as much as he's capable of doing just for other things. Pete has been heading up our project down in Universal Studios. Universal is opening a new theme park down there, and we're doing the Celestial Village, I think they call it. But the theme park's really cool. And there's 5 parks altogether, and we're the center park. We're the nucleus, and then there's 4 parks around us. We got Harry Potter World, How to Train Your Dragon World, the Dark Universe, and Nintendo World. And then the Celestial Park that we're doing is in the middle. The best way to describe it is kind of like Epcot. It's in the center. It's restaurants. It's gift shops. It's these sorts of things. They got a big lake or lagoon, they call it, in the middle with a restaurant overlooking it. They've got a big hotel overlooking the parks, and it's the first of its kind where once you're in the hotel, you're in the theme park. Anytime else you go to the theme park, you walk out, you get on a tram or a bus or whatever, and you go through the gate and you do all that. Well, here, once you get inside this hotel, you're in the theme park. And our theme park is basically the portal to all the other theme parks. And then they're true portals. They got these like tunnels you go through and you pop out into the other worlds. We only have one attraction. It's a roller coaster that's in our park. And we're doing that work for Yates, by the way. And it's something that's well out of our wheelhouse right now because they're doing the theming on the buildings. So when you walk up and the building looks like, a castle or, a 1950s restaurant or whatever that look may be, they build a box and put some framing on it, and we come and stick fiberglass and concrete stuff on the outside of it. And we're building cupolas and bell towers and stuff like that. It's been a real learning experience for us. And Universal and Yates have both been real good to work for on the project, but it's been very demanding. But we're getting to the end of that right now. We're starting to nose over. I'm glad.
You got to make for a positive looking resume.
We're worn out. Yeah. But we've met a lot of good people down in Orlando and made a lot of good contacts through that. And, Pete was the one that encouraged me to pursue the project when it came around. And I think we're going to be successful when it's all done.
Do you think that's something you would want to do again with this kind of aesthetics and things like that?
Maybe not at this scale.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Not a whole theme park, but we had done
Shouldn't get much bigger than that.
we had done some limiting theming off that on other projects before, but not near to that scale. And what we learned from a lot of that, we were able to actually parlay in our development here on 1515. If you look out up top of the building, you got like the crown molding, and you got all the little column details and all that. The same manufacturer that made the stuff for us down in Orlando made that. And,
wow.
You know, the skill set that we learned or derived while we were in Orlando is what we applied to this. So,
I thought it might have reflected back there because it's.
What's that?
I thought that might have reflected back to the 1515 development.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. When he came up, we had, so yeah, it was fun work.
So when you and Pete decided to take on this project, were y'all in your office? How'd it go down? Like, all right, we're going to do a theme park.
That's exactly how it went down. It's there's a saying in construction, more balls than brains, and that's one of them. Yeah, that was one of the. If
you're going to be in the business, you got to go after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything uncomfortable for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have one question, kind of going back in time here, but you before you bought Aladdin, you worked for general contractor. Is that right?
That's right.
So did you have any experience in the drywall business at all specifically? No. You didn't.
None.
Yes. That's impressive. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't know what else to say. It's impressive. Well, business is business.
Yeah, I mean, you're around it your whole life, you know. And,
right. Yeah.
You know, I always thought the drywallers were a pain in the ass because the general.
Yeah, they were always a pain in the ass. By the way,
as a general, you start out, you know, and typically with new construction, it's a dirt pad. You know, you push out tree or do whatever and put a pad, and you pour a slab, and you put a structure up, and you learn to walk through the building and all your courses, and then they frame it, and you just go through the studs, and all of a sudden one day they hang drywall, and you don't know how to get around your own damn building anymore. and you got to learn all over. And
drywall guys always impressed me.
So what advice would you give to an aspiring developer? You know, would you tell them start at the bottom, work your way up? What would you say?
Start small. Yeah, start small. Absolutely. What we're doing in Ocean Springs is, I guess, our first real development. I mean, I built our office in Wool Market, which, you know, when it's your own project that you're going to live in and work in every day, it has a little different feel about it. You're not really trying to appeal to anybody but yourself, you know, and you're trying to set up a structure that you're going to make money in and be successful. And you know, you're not really concerned about what the outside world thinks. But with what we've done here in OS 1515, John and I, you know, we bought the property. So you want to talk about that now, or are you saving that up for later?
No, you're good.
I don't want to jump ahead.
No. I was just talking. We don't normally throw points out. I just throw them out to you.
Well, if you're into the development part, we'll just jump right in.
Yeah, good.
Please do.
You can circle back if we skipped over a topic. So I have to tell this story to tell that story. So back, I guess about 2010, when my son was graduating high school, called. He comes to me and he had a vision for Ocean Springs that is Ocean Springs today that I didn't have way back then. And there was a building somewhere here on Government Street. I don't remember which building it is. It was on the north side, and it's somewhere between our development in Washington. Came up for sale. And he says, "Dad, you need to buy this building. I want you to come see it." And we drove down. And he said at the time, he said, I want to put a board store in there. You know, he was a wakeboarder, a skateboarder, a snowboarder. I want to put a board store. I want to do board store things, you know, and all this with the building. And the building was, you know, Ocean Springs, very hip and cool. And it would have worked well for that. And I looked at it, and I remember thinking, no, I want you to go to college. I don't want you to be a board store guy, you know. And I drugged my feet on the building, and the building sold. And then a couple of years later, or maybe less, I realized that was a big mistake. I missed out on the golden opportunity. The building wasn't a bargain at the time, but it wasn't priced over the market. But, you know, it would have been a good deal. And today it would just be golden, you know. And it's one of these businesses along here that is here now. Again, I can't remember what it is. So I remember thinking, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So fast forward, early 2008. I'm sitting at my desk one day. My partner John calls me from his car phone. He's bringing his kids to school, and he sees a sign on what was the former Swingster property. I don't know if you know the history of that property, but it was E.R. Moore years ago, 60s, 70s, maybe even earlier. It dates back. Fred Moran can tell you the detailed history of it, okay? And it was a sewing factory. And one of the things that they made were high school gym clothes. And in fact, my mother-in-law, Claudette Champagne, worked there for a period of time in the 70s, and she used to tell my wife, her daughter, "You're probably wearing gym clothes that I made," okay, at the E.R. Moore, and it was subsequently bought by Swingster, but they still did the same thing. And one of the cool things about it was, in the day, there were, they worked around the schedule of a traditional housewife there, and it was all production-based work. The plant was open maybe 24 hours a day, but extended hours. And moms could take their kids to school and then drive to Ocean Springs and sew clothes for a few hours, make X number or whatever, and make that money, and then go back and take care of the family, and they could work around their schedule, and they had a real flex schedule doing that. So that went on for a number of years, and then Swingster went out of business, I guess. I don't know the specifics. I guess I should research it a little closer. But and they just left the property, and the county took over for taxes. And the building sat there for a while, and then the building post-Katrina we used as a headquarters for, I believe, Red Cross.
I used to have the cleaning contract. I used to clean it.
Okay, it was Red Cross?
Yeah, it was like Katrina. Like people would stay, they'd come into town, and there was a place for them to sleep, like a dorm, take showers, and they would go build and help people. So they go in, like if the houses were, anything they could do, mostly churches. Little People Big World actually filmed there, stayed there.
Okay, wow.
So they would go, it's like families would go for the summer or whatever and just do a 1 week, 2 week, but there was like a dorm, bunk beds, washing machines, concrete floors, and bathrooms, kind of like just a dorm.
There we go. We have a historian on staff.
Well, right here.
Well, I had the contract for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was just it was an old factory, but it wasn't nothing fancy. It was just families would come in and they had their own areas to sleep, wash their clothes, and they go repair roofs, whatever they could do to help people. Cut trees down.
Cool.
So what year did you say you bought that property?
So it came up for auction. Well, I believe before John and I got involved, the county tried to auction the property off with the structure still on it. And from what I understand, they didn't receive any bids. It just wasn't appealing, I guess, for whatever reasons. And so the county paid the money to have it leveled, have it demoed, and then they put it up for bid. And that's when it came on our radar. So John just calls me on this random morning, and I believe it was April of 18. And he says, "Hey, man, they're fixing to auction this property off here in Ocean Springs. It's basically a city block. You want to partner up and go in on it?" I didn't know anything about it. He told me what the minimum bid was, and I didn't know anything about it. But all I remember was I'm not going to make the same mistake I made with the other building in Ocean Springs. So I said, I'm in. And the best part is I believe this was a Tuesday, Wednesday. It could have even been a Thursday of the week. It was somewhere right in there. And I said, "So when does the auction?" He goes, "Monday." Like, do what? We have to get a bid put together and submitted by Monday. And he was like, "Yeah." We didn't even have we couldn't form a partnership or anything. We just bid on the thing as Jim and John, and we submitted our bids, but we got beat by an outfit out of Connecticut, and they were the high bidder. It was only 3 bidders. It was Fred Moran, us, and these cats out of Connecticut, which I don't remember who they were. So we were like, okay, we were done. And later, I guess, in the year, they pulled out, and we were contacted by the county to see if we would still honor our second bid. And we said, yeah, absolutely. And it took a while of working through, and the county were more stringent and strict with us on the second time around, and we're going to make the same mistake twice about letting somebody, back out of the deal. And so we closed on it late 18, probably, if I remember correctly. And then after we got it, John and I met at the old Murky Waters, and we sat down one day and said, so what are we going to do with this? And we compared notes on what we wanted to build, and what you see today is very much the exact same thing that we talked about from day one. Sans the parking garage. We didn't see a parking garage in our future at that time, but we wanted to do, multi-use. We wanted to do some condos. We wanted to put a boutique hotel in. I mean, we were right on the same page, right down the line. The food hall was something that kind of grew organically. I can't say that really came out of the first meeting, but over time we both agreed.
We had a lot on y'all's plate buying a big piece of property.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you're eating barbecue.
Yeah. Well, like I said, more balls and brains. So.
And so for all the haters out there, he did not knock down the old Swingster building.
I did not.
That was the county. All right.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Got your back, Jim.
Yeah. And we want to
ask, when did they get
a lot of people
done?
mad that the building got knocked down because it had such a history here.
yeah.
So as long as everybody knows it wasn't you that knocked it down,
Well,
yeah,
I appreciate
get out of
it.
here. That was the county.
I'll take any goodwill I can get. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely.
And
And we want to put a historical plaque up there, capturing, what I said, obviously in a more brief manner, but we decided that we've got too much on our plate to do that right now. That'll be an unveiling, in a year to come or two or whatever. But
are you a part of the OS hotel is also part of the development too?
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a quick story. Big Jeff O'Keefe came on the
Mm-hmm.
podcast back in the day. And he told me the story about this place. He said this used to be called, it was never called the City of Ocean Springs. It's called Lynchburg Landing. Mr. Lynchburg, he was a slave owner that owned the property. Like he owned all this. Like he was just, slave owner. Well, there was a hotel here called, this is from Big Jeff that was teaching me because he used to live in his funeral home. That's his family home. It was called Lynchburg Landing, and people used to come here from Artesian Wells, right behind Burger King. And they had this hotel called the Ocean Springs Hotel. Well, Mr. Lynchburg harmed one of his ex-slaves, and the whole city got disgusted by it, was super mad, and they ran him off. He left his property, went down Bayou, and never returned. So they just all sat around. And you can pull up Ocean Springs Hotel. You'll see a photo of it, but they all looked at that hotel and like, we're changing the name of the city. Yeah. And it became Ocean Springs. Yeah. And that's cool that he's doing OS Hotel. But that's Big Jeff O'Keefe, which he owns all the funeral homes. So he lived in that mansion. Everybody think he was like luxury. It was adorned for all. He had a bunch of brothers and sisters. They lived there. But Mr. Jeff told me the whole story about that. It's cool that your OS Hotel's coming back.
That is cool.
That is
I
really
didn't
cool.
know that story, so
Yeah.
I like
Very
it
good
even
for
better. Because as you might imagine, we put a lot of time and effort into naming and branding and what all that would look like. So that
The city was named after this hotel.
that is
Yeah. That shout out, Big Jeff. I love you.
That is way cool. That is way
yeah.
cool. Yeah. All right. Something else to add to the.
I love history
to
of
the
where I'm from.
marketing.
I love the history of this
information.
coast.
Yeah.
But it's like,
so do we. Yeah. Absolutely.
if you want to know the history, go hang out with Big Jeff.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
All
all.
right.
He loves history, all about history.
Big Jeff, like my age.
Yeah,
Big Jeff?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
We got Little Jeff. Little Jeff's my age.
Okay. Well, Big Jeff's my neighbor. All right. So I'll have
Walk
to go
next door and talk to him
I'm
about
gonna have
it.
to go talk
He
to
knows
him. Yeah.
everything. Like I was like, Artesian Wells is like, yeah, everybody thought the water it healed people, so they'd all come from all around for the water.
Okay.
So that's where the springs came into the name.
Yep.
Yeah, right from the artesian wells. I wondered that.
Yeah.
He knows it all. Like he just sits there and I'm like talking about it, like, yeah, that funeral home I have right here on Porter. I'm like, yeah, that's where I used to live. I'm like, well, okay.
That was cool.
That didn't have central. It didn't have AC and stuff. I mean, especially being out in Ocean Springs, and it's just cool to hear the story about. And that's why the Lynchburg down there, the bar.
Right. Yeah.
That's like the
Okay.
last bit of the original name.
Okay.
So that 1515 model is beautiful. It's your first. Would you ever want to replicate that? Is that something you guys might want to do?
Right
Like-
now is not a good time to ask that question.
Well,
we're 45 days out from opening, and
yeah.
it dominates our life.
6
Yeah.
months
So-
from now.
Yeah,
I
you'll know a
I
lot
need
more
to breathe.
soon.
I need
Yeah.
to breathe a little bit and regroup.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what my wife will say was absolutely not.
Absolutely
You're never
not.
doing this again. Okay.
Well,
but yeah, the way the project evolved is we're doing in our initial talks, we wanted to build it in phases over time.
yeah,
And the way that the grant was structured when the parking garage got involved. It's, I won't bore you with a lot of minutia, but it required us to build it all at once. And I remember that meeting when, all of a sudden it came clear to me we were going to have to do this all at one time. I had to walk out of the meeting. I was sick, realizing we were going to have to take this on in such a rapid pace and do it all at once. And, decided we were up for it. And it's hard. It's difficult. And what we're dealing with is so many different moving parts and operating parts. We're trying to get a food hall up and running, and we're trying to get all the vendors signed up, and we're trying to work through that, and we're trying to take care of their needs. We're trying to get the retail people and do their retail build outs and, get their spaces finished for them, customized. We got Desi Vegas coming in the restaurant, and trying to, we're catering to them. They're getting a custom built space for what they want. We're trying to get hotel operations up and going and running a hotel. We're trying to get, we're working on all these things. I hate to say trying, but we're working on all these things. The condo association, getting all their bylaws and working on getting the board together, trying to get insurance for the entire development up front, trying to work through the courtyard and the parking garage, how that's going to flow and work, and the usage of that between the condo owners and the food hall and the parking garage and the hotel and all those sorts of things. Closings for condo owners, because we did sell all of the condos, which we're very happy with. And
how many units?
There's 14 total, and they're all claimed. We have contracts on all of them. We'll begin closing in April on that. So it's a lot of moving parts, none of which are overwhelming standalone, but all together they're overwhelming.
It's a symphony. It has to be conducted.
And trying to do all the social media and the marketing and trying to get ahead of that and, get out there. So when we do open, there's somebody that shows up, and pushing that. So there's just a lot of aspects to it at once that.
I think that's a good lesson for a lot of the locals here who, they look at when you're doing a project around here, they like to complain about, developers trying to maximize their profits. Well, I don't think a lot of them realize how much liability and how many steps are involved, where if they don't try to maximize, there's so many areas where they could lose so much money that they really have to, consider all those factors going into the project.
Yeah, no, it's, and I can't say that I wasn't guilty of thinking that the developer life was just all, roses and butterflies before I got involved. As a contractor for years, you work for these guys, and you're like, that's the guy I want to be.
It looks easy.
Yeah, man, that's who I want to be. Until you get on the other side of it and you realize it's not as easy as maybe you thought it was. You're dealing with multiple designers. You got mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, landscape designers, architects, interior designers. You're trying to coordinate all these people.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I'm not trying to pour mouth or complain or whine. I mean, it's been a great ride, and I've learned a lot and all that. But it's a lot to try to pull off.
On top of you running a line construction.
Oh yeah, this is OS 1550. My side.
This is a hobby.
My side.
It's a hobby. It's a hobby.
This is my side hustle. Yeah.
That's moving parts. But the Desi Vegas, you mentioned that. I think that's the one Mayor Holloway said that he talked to about committing to coming. Is that right?
He did.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
he
he's
did.
pro growth. But your 1515's already been a success. It's going to be a success for you. I know, but my best friend owns the short-term rental next to you, and it's bumped their value. I mean, they're selling right now,
Absolutely.
I'm the property manager there, but it's helped them, and so it's booming the real estate.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're really proud of is we have increased the property
I'm
values
thanking you for that
everybody.
because I'm a homeowner here. So
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
who can complain,
absolutely.
man?
The
growth is healthy. Your growth is healthy. It's
I agree.
boosting the market. This is how economy works.
And we've been very sensitive to the city of Ocean Springs and what it's about and who it is, and we're sensitive to over gentrification. I love the South Park episode where they gentrified, South Park.
Are we talking about South Park? Come on.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, now we all.
But
If we
Yeah,
South
we'd all
Park
get along.
look, man,
but
go ahead.
we're very sensitive to that, and in the development, we've underbuilt what we could have on that property. I mean, we could have done another floor in the hotel. We could have put a rooftop bar on it. We could have built more condos. I mean, we had the ability, under the code and all to do more. And we talked about it and said we don't want to overwhelm the community. We want to try to do something that fits in. And if you look, they're all brick buildings, to replicate or demonstrate downtown. We're OS 15 downtown. We want to have that look. The buildings, if you follow them. If you look at how they're constructed and their architecture and their brick colors and all that, they try to represent the west to east growth of Ocean Springs. The first building is a New Orleans French Quarter style, very. The center building is more warehouse district, which came along a little later, and then at the end is more of a contemporary, modern, gray brick, and really the inspiration for the hotel was the one hotel in New York, in Manhattan, if you want to look it up. Now, the one's got vines growing up the side of it, so that, and we don't have vines, at least not yet. But that's kind of the inspiration for what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of represent a growth, and we wanted to try to we wanted to fit in, with the community. And when we were approached about putting the parking garage on our property, when we first began, we didn't have any concept of parking garage, and we would have met our parking requirements with the land that is north of us. And we had ample property to do it. And but what you would have had without the parking garage is you would have had a Walmart style paved parking lot with some cheesy islands with some half dead trees and some monkey grass around it. And if you're parked at the back, you're walking in the summer across 115-degree heat, and just the whole thing is creating runoff. More runoff. There's no ground absorption. All of these things. But we met those requirements. And Kenny may take a lot of heat for this project, but Shay Dobson's the one that approached us about the parking garage, all right? And Shay signed some of the first documents for the approval to get this pushed through with the grant. And Kenny's been very supportive of it, and we're thankful for that. Don't anything wrong, but like I said, I feel like Kenny gets beat up a little bit, but he didn't start it.
He gets beat up all the time.
Yeah. He threw it all the way back to
And
he just took the baton and continued.
He did a podcast with us, and he's like, I can't take credit for downtown Ocean Springs. It was Connie Moran.
Yeah, he said that.
And he was straight up. He's like, it was Connie that started this flow. It's like, and that was, to me, going from different parties to have that kind of respect. I just love the fact that, like, I always think, because you always look at this place, and it's always, and I have my birth certificate. I'm from Ocean Springs, born and raised here. My dad had a house right over here, and my mom lived in Latimer. My dad lived here. My grandma lived here. But one of the best things I always say is, like, when you build a beautiful city, people want to come here. You can't keep it the best. You can't keep it a secret.
Right.
People want to be able to be a part of this.
That's right.
And that's the thing is, that's what happens. You can't just be like, no, nobody can come in. They got to come in because you're selling it to them.
Right. Well, I mean, you've taken a piece of property that sat here off the tax rolls for how many years?
You get bigger or smaller. You don't stay the same. Nobody ever does. Stay the same.
No, well,
nothing stays the same.
That's the big thing. Is like, look, there's a house I was gonna at the time it was my first time buying a house. I was looking at a house right behind Tater Net. I should have bought it, but I didn't have the budget to. I was cleaning for you, but I didn't have the budget. It was like $270,000, and I was like, I can't do it. I couldn't afford it, and I had to walk away from it. But now, what is that little house worth? I didn't buy it because it didn't have. If it had central heat and air, I would have bought it.
Yeah.
I did not want to mess with a window unit. Yeah. Nothing I want to ever do.
There's nothing better than going to a room in the summertime,
closing the door and turning it on high.
That AC up, laying underneath it. Now, come on now.
Close the curtain.
Yeah, that's true.
Best deals I ever made were all the ones I couldn't afford. I swear.
Oh, you got it.
I always came
Brad,
out on the better
Brad,
end.
Don't hurt you not trying hard
Brad,
enough.
tell that story about you buying your house.
Which one? The one downtown Ocean Springs?
Yeah, tell the story.
Oh man, I was a school teacher, and I had terrible credit. I had, a teacher's income. I had nothing. And but I found this house downtown Ocean Springs. I owner financed it with 0% interest, right? So it was a good deal, right?
That's
And
a good deal, yeah.
it was a decent price. Everybody laughed at me for buying this thing because it was a tear down, right?
USDA or something?
I owner financed it through the seller. So you pay the
Oh,
seller.
owner finance.
Yeah,
You could go wrong,
seller
yeah.
finance at 0 interest, but I gave him a decent down payment. I had to sell my car to get the down payment on this thing.
No way.
So, but about a month after I buy this thing, the state garnishes my wages for back taxes. And now here I am, a school teacher with no income coming in, having to pay this mortgage on this thing. Baby. But a couple years later, I did all the work myself on it, every bit of it with some buddies and some beer. Shout out Dustin Doms. And after a couple of years, I just about doubled my money on it after living in it for 2 years. So that was tax-free income also. And that was the highlight of my life so far. Yeah. And I had no business buying that place to begin with.
There you go. Yeah. Get over your skis early,
Yeah,
right?
buddy. Yes, sir.
Recover later.
It's similar to your situation. I mean, you're at a point with your business. I mean, you have properties, and for you to jump in and try to, build a better, take that area that with nothing's going on there, and bring in jobs and kiosk businesses going in there and bringing in more tourism. I mean, most of his tourism is like 70% tourism.
70% on the weekend.
70%
That's
tourism.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I got to tell you, Chef Todd's doing a great job advocating the food hall. Like, he was so diligent with us.
Yeah.
We had multiple meetings, and I really like him.
Yeah.
And
I think that's just the start of it. I see what our team is doing internally, and they're very aggressive in terms of marketing. And, we've got an outside marketing consultant on board. And so I think you're going to see a lot of good things come from that. And everybody that we brought on board, District Coffee obviously is fantastic, with social media and marketing. But, a lot of the other vendors that we have in there are deeply into it. Desi Vega, they're into it. So the synergy that's going to come together with what they want to do and what we want to do, I think is going to be mammoth, honestly.
on a smaller food and beverage level, I'm excited about being in that community kitchen with these guys.
I know,
because I haven't had that in a long time.
That's right. Yeah.
And you got Chef Kitchen,
and you got Chef Todd with all the people he knows in the industry and what he's going to bring to the table. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, just all these chefs hanging out. I get to cook chicken and hang out with these guys.
That's right. No,
You're gonna learn something.
That is food and beverage, though, man. It's a camaraderie in the kitchen, and I haven't had that big commercial kitchen like that.
I can't wait till they expand and put the pool.
there were some concepts with the pool. We never could really make that work the way we wanted.
But
you
ever think in 5 years from now, do you'll have the team to ever do that?
I mean, you can never say never, right? We don't have a plan in place right now, but that's not to say that you can't. So, it's the Margaritaville Hotel right now, that 14-story hotel that's on top of the old Casino Magic. They built that on top of a parking garage that wasn't designed to have that built on. And I was actually senior project manager with Roy Anderson Corp when we did that project and built that hotel on top of that garage. And we went in the ground underneath the garage and expanded the foundation and went all the way up through that garage with all kind of structural elements to make it handle that hotel. They have what they call an interstitial space on the top of the garage where it transfers the load, because the parking garage columns are, let's just say, on 36-foot centers, and a hotel column spacings need to be 28 to make it work out with room size. So they had to transition those loads, and they've got beams up in there. If you can get in, they're 3 foot wide and 7-8 foot deep that just transfer that weight going up for the parking garage. So I just say all that to say that's the type of thing you got to do if you ever want to put a.
How long does that take to do?
It's not a small decision.
I don't know. I guess we were there 18 months.
For the parking garage?
Well, the parking garage was already there. The hotel, we just added to the top of it. We had to build a bridge to get to the hotel from the mainland east of the garage to that. There's a company called Acro Bridge. We had to put a temporary bridge in, and all the concrete trucks and all the workers and all had to go across Temporary Bridge to get to that peninsula out there.
Y'all can do anything.
So it can be done, but
With the budget, with the right budget, it
Y'all
can be
can
done.
do
with the right budget. Yeah.
Come on,
Would
man.
you love, so before we send off, would you love, like, when it does open, OS 1515, them district boys would love to do a live podcast there
We would love for you
and
to
have your
absolutely.
team and we'll do a grand opening with y'all and we'll do a tour. We'll film a tour.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Like,
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, we would love it. Yeah,
Brian, cool with
absolutely.
that?
Not only will I do that, I will book all of us a room in the hotel.
Yeah.
I'll
There
buy
we
us
go.
all a drink at
That's
the
right.
bar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mr. Jim, you
I'm
cool with
all
that?
in, baby.
I'm cool with that.
Cool with
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
we're
exciting.
Been a pleasure.
No, that's,
Yeah.
I've
So,
enjoyed
I
this.
mean,
no.
it's the biggest thing happening in town
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And a long time.
Well, I want to say to our listeners and thank y'all so much. Look forward in the next 2 months. What are you thinking? We're OS.
Yeah, we're taking reservations for April 30th right now.
Y'all got
Yeah.
a wedding coming. You're doing a wedding there.
There's don't quote me on
right?
dates.
Probably,
It's
it's probably
that's
not
a moving
yeah,
target,
something
but
you deal with.
yeah. I do have that written down. I don't want to quote that.
But when it does open,
But we do have 2 weddings booked already for it. Yes.
you'll have weddings, campaign events, all kinds of things. You want to throw business meetings? Chef Todd already told us y'all have space for that.
No, they have all the space.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to y'all later.
Over and
Thank you.
out.
Thank you.
Night, night, y'all.
And check out Aladdin Construction
The GOAT, Jim Hardin.
for sure. That dude's legendary. Hey, we got the first pod with him.
Perfect, man. Are we live? We're done?